Hi, Christina. This is Ira, and I am recording here some thoughts in response to your plan for the digital artifact that you're creating. I hope these will be helpful as you finalize the project. I know that you've clearly done a lot of the work to get ready for it or to start working on it already, and that's great. So I'm impressed by this ambitious multi-audience project, and basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to read through your paper and offer a few thoughts as I go along. Your paper planning it. This is all helpful background on the goal of of getting faculty to get past the preconception that honors is elitist or insular, and also to allay people's fears that the program would siphon off students or cater to students who are already more privileged. So I got that the whole point of the program is precisely to offer something that in some way speaks to as many students as possible. And that's awesome. So, all right, coming into the artifact. So when you say this artifact should help students, faculty, and advisors understand how our racially diverse and economically constrained students can participate in a beneficial and challenging educational option. One of the things that both impresses me and I think is really hard to do, and so I think you've thought in some useful ways about how to do it, but I'm also going to have a few comments further on as I read through your paper, is how to reach those three very different audiences with just one digital artifact. And that really is going to require a lot of thinking carefully about which parts of the artifact are targeted at the different audiences, and also how do you create the artifact that reaches multiple audiences without the parts for one audience potentially alienating or just mystifying another. So that's the basic kind of, I don't want to say concern because that's too strong. Again, I think it's a great project, but difficult consideration. So, and I think focusing on simplifying is a great idea. Like thinking about what's at stake is this complex thing, and the goal is to simplify it. And first and foremost, I think that's awesome. And I think that not getting into motivation is a helpful way of not getting into just your student audience too much, but rather staying with all three audiences in this way that clarity is going to be a useful focus for. So I think that's great. I think you're thinking about this in a really smart way. Okay, so, this one, when you say the constraint of artifact location and dissemination, I think that is something you're still working on. I hope you've been able to figure that out. And I think these seem like a great set of ways of getting it to everybody. It does seem like most of these are about getting the artifact to students, and I'm curious how you're going to move beyond just getting it to students to reaching advising faculty, who, as you know well, as you delicately put it, may still harbor their own expectations, i.e., may in some ways be hostile to the honors program in general, and so the question of how to get them to engage with the artifact in the first place seems like an important one. Now, when you say that this is all helpful background for me to track the idea, it's not yet. Sort of explaining to yourself, like, what is it that unifies those audiences, this very, very diverse set of audiences, for the purposes of your digital artifact. And I think the idea of focusing on clarity, on just sort of laying out how the honors program works in the simplest possible way, I think that's a good sort of the unifying feature of this diverse group of people then is precisely that they're all people who would be well served by clarification of the process. Same thing with faculty audience. And I think your plans for reaching the student audience are good. This is an intense collection of constraints for the faculty audience, and especially this old forms with outdated degree requirements. I think that's super tough. So I'm curious to see how you end up approaching getting the digital artifact in front of the eyes of faculty advisors. I'm not sure if that's something that you can email or hope to spread even in some kind of quasi-viral way. Is there some access approach that you can take that harnesses the power of social media in some way? I don't know, but I think you identify that as a core difficulty, and like I said, I'll be interested to see how you go about negotiating that. I think I love your vision of how to do this in a perfect world with infinite time. I think that's great. Absolutely lovely. I also think that ideally, if it is possible to make it multimodal or interactive, I think that's probably a very good idea. Certainly multimodal. It's often, as you know, often when we're trying to convey complex information quickly, some kind of infographic or something that at least includes an infographic or flowchart can often be really helpful. I'm assuming that you probably don't have time or resources right this second to make it interactive, but if you do, that's a super cool idea. I think that's and assuming that you'll probably keep working on the artifact well past this course, since it's serves that larger purpose. I think the ways in which you're thinking about how to do this are really smart. I totally agree that simplicity is core here, and the "we believe in you" part. I wonder if there's a way to make that sort of subtextually present, in a sense, to infuse the artifact with that sensibility in a way that obviously is addressed to students, but also gathers together faculty. In other words, speaks to faculty in their character as believers, and that this is what everybody has in common, is that everyone believes in students' capacity to enter into this honors program if they're so inclined. Obviously, I think at the level of what's in or on the digital artifact, I think communicating this message almost has to be subtextual, because making it front and center is going to distract from the sort of primary goal of simplifying and clarifying the process. Yeah, okay. As you said, a visual is more likely to be read. I love this application of Aristotle to the problematic. I think it's terrific. And I think the question of like how can you frame some aspect of the artifact in a way that prompts or supports deliberation would be really interesting. Because in a lot of times when we think about informational communication, we're not necessarily thinking about something that prompts deliberation. We're thinking about something that helps people better or more efficiently meet goals that they already have, that they've already set. And so I think the idea of thinking about how can you communicate this information simply in a way that prompts deliberation, really pushes you past a lot of the quote unquote normal or more ordinary ways of thinking about communicating information. I think that's great. I think it's really interesting. So I'd encourage you to really think about what it looks like in this context to create a simple message that's informational in character, but that in some way fosters deliberation or invites deliberation. Yeah. Um, I think that's like basically my feedback. I think you're on a great track with this, and I'm really excited to see how it turns out. So I look forward to seeing that digital artifact soon, and just wanted to thank you for your engagement this semester. It's been great having you in the course, and wish you all good things in future semesters. All right, thanks. Bye.